Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to recap the adventure that I ran Sunday. The party was getting ready for a raid of orcs. They were expecting the orcs to make a land attack and a water attack at the same time, so they prepared accordingly. They also created a semi-circular area towards the port that had boulders in it, acting like dragon's teeth. And then they set up palisades that were maybe 12 to 15 feet tall that could be spun into giant spears versus charges and large forces. And that was the preparations they made that way. The mage had a strength gem that he was putting strength in, and since I allowed the downtime between the games to affect the game, he had 3 weeks worth of strength in it, so he had 3 weeks worth of mana stored up in it from like 5 different characters. So he had over 200 points of mana in there. Most spells that they cast cost 3 mana. There are variable spells like Magic Fist, which, think of it as sort of a magic missile, except you have an attack roll. It's the weakest of the magical attacks. It does a d6 -1 per strength you put into it, but you only get 1 attack roll. It's only a single attack spell, so each time you cast it, you determine how many mana you put in it, you determine how much dice damage it does. And then he asked a question that I wasn't thinking about, and since I allowed it for him, that also means the enemies can do it in the future. So the party started out with the gargoyles doing reconnaissance. They would fly about maybe a couple miles out of town, about 300 feet up or so, and just scout the area looking for the orcs. They eventually find the longships heading towards the town. They found them about 1.5 miles out of town. The party, the mage from the shore, had acquired a spyglass. He's using it to see them, and then he is casting the Fantasy Trips summon Grizzly Bear at the longest range he can, which that was one of his questions: how far can he cast it? And I didn't look up the range, and we just kind of went with it. So since he can do this, in the future the enemies can too. He summoned a grizzly bear on the bow of the ship. It started attacking orcs immediately, and then the grizzly bear disappeared. He does it again, and a third time. And now they're suspicious of why the grizzly bear keeps disappearing as soon as it's summoned. Believe the gargoyles got closer to the ship, and they found that the ship had a minotaur on it, wearing silver chainmail, silver great axe, and it pointed at the bear each time a bear appeared, and then the bear just blew up in this small mist of blood. The gargoyles attacked the masts of the ship, of 2 of the ships. There was a dozen ships that the gargoyles saw. They attacked the masts of 2 of the ships, and then they started taking sling stones, started filling the area they were in, so they retreated. And eventually they go back and they attack 4 more ships to slow them down, all with mostly successes. They then circle back and try to handle the minotaur, and the mage ends up trying to counter the minotaur once he knows what's there, and he casts Magic Fist at that distance using the spyglass, and he hits the ship with enough damage to put about a meter, I would say about a 2-meter size hole in the hull. And then from there, the ship begins sinking. The minotaur is eventually knocked over by the gargoyles into the ocean, and he disappears for a little bit, and then they see him swimming. with his armor on, with his weapon. But he is far from the shore, so they consider him out of the fight for the moment. They then figure out where the chieftain is, and they attack him. They killed him and the mage he had. And then at this point, they have an attacking the town, from the town, as these boats are getting closer to the shore. 4 of the boats in the fleet hit the teeth, and then the rest of the boats search for a way around the teeth. And as they're getting closer to the shore, the land forces are attacking. The land force comes up from the south. It has a mounted squad of like 24 of these mounts that are riding these lion, bull-like creatures. And there was like about 200 orcs as well that are on foot. Well, the lion creatures lead the charge. A couple of them are taken out by some of the small spike pits that they had. After that, the rest of them jump over the wall, the palisade, and they're in the town wreaking havoc. The town folk, the militia, the volunteers, the Jarl's actual soldiers are all participating in fighting. And a lot of them are dying. And the party starts to try to figure out how to deal with these things. So they fight 1 or 2 of them, I believe. And they kill a few riders, and they kill one of these beasts. At this point, a fog is coming from the north. What the party doesn't know is that this creature was attacked in the north and has now moved its way to the nearest bloodshed. As the fog enters the town, they hear the echoing of a demonic moo, and then a wall from the north disintegrates in probably about a 30-foot by 30-foot section. There was a blinding flash of light, and then the wall's gone. One or two of the lion creatures are attacking this creature that just entered town, and it destroys those things pretty much instantaneously. When the party sees this, they see a white-furred minotaur with the same markings on the mask that it's wearing, now crisscrossing its fur all over its body. It's wielding a great axe for a minotaur. And they see it essentially cast magic by concentrating it between his horns and then blasting a building away. The party decides retreat's the better option in this case, because this creature isn't there to fight the party, it isn't there to fight the orcs, it isn't there to fight townspeople, it's there to kill everything. So they begin retreating as fast as possible. The mage that was doing all the damage to the ships turns around and casts drop weapon on the Minotaur. And the Minotaur drops his axe. He's attacked again by some orcs, and he uses his magic to destroy them. And then he's walking in a direction, he holds his hand out and his axe returns to him. And at that point, everyone in the party was like, yeah, we're getting out of here. So at this point, what's left of the forces that are in the town begin to retreat. The forces that were getting ready to beach themselves into the town to attack begin retreating as well. So they all exit. They're harassed a little bit by the gargoyles. And then one of them sees the Minotaur that wore the silver chainmail. They saw him on the beach, and he's moving towards the north. One of the gargoyles tries to attack him, or at least was getting ready to attack him, and then he looks down at the Minotaur. The Minotaur's pointing at him, but the gargoyle is unaffected by whatever the Minotaur was doing. Previously, the Minotaur cast Freeze on one of the gargoyles when they were attacking his ship. Freeze paralyzes you for 2d6 rounds. And that gargoyle got paralyzed for 11 rounds. They had to fish him out of the water and rescue him. So, if that would have affected the flying gargoyle, he just would have plummeted and taken fall damage. This gargoyle decides to let the Minotaur go because the Minotaur is in retreat mode. And the party starts to regroup. The party has a longship boat that half of the crew, it consists of the characters usually not played in that game session. So they, like at least 2/3 of the party, if not the whole party, is now on the ship trying to pursue the retreating orcs, and that's where we left off. If I missed anything interesting, the players that played, put them in the comments below. Until we meet again.